Hi, would you like to learn stonewalling psychology, stonewalling abuse, and what is stonewalling anyways? Hey, I'm Antje Boyd, founder and creator of the Magnetize Your Man method. And look, if you are new here, don't forget to click that bell right below so you get notified for the next juicy video coming your way that helps you to attract the right man for you. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Stonewalling is so challenging. It is when the other person indeed is withdrawing, and there's really a breakdown in communication after the other partner actually was expressing something that may have been really, really important to them, that may have been actually emotionally charged. This, on the other hand, may have led to an overwhelm of the system of the partner who is then withdrawing and building a wall around themselves, hence stonewalling. So we're going to talk about 5 main causes about stonewalling. So here we go. Cause number 1, using stonewalling as a silence treatment, as punishment. Now, this is a more manipulative way to use stonewalling because it is meant to punish and inflict sort of pain, emotional pain on the other person. And what it really draws on is that need for approval, that need for connection that we all innately have inside of ourselves, right? Attachment systems teach us, right, that we have to connect to our primary caregiver. And then later on, of course, the primary caregiver becomes our romantic partner. Not that he's going to be the caregiver, but we're going to have this same emotional intimacy with our romantic partner that we have with our primary caregiver. And hence, we will then mirror the existing relationship we have around that attachment. So what needs to happen here is like really understanding, wow, this is like you could have a conversation with the other person, but they actually intentionally use that to really have you start to be who they want you to be, right? To be like, so I'm teaching you a lesson, right? Of course, it's a more passive aggressive way of communication, and I so absolutely don't recommend. As a matter of fact, it's going to lead to much bigger problems in the relationship, so watch out for that for sure. Cause number 2 is actually the lack of emotional maturity. Now, in my group program, we talk a lot about the 6 masculine and the 6 feminine archetypes. So what happens here is that your partner, and this could be a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, like doesn't have the capacity to actually handle the emotional impact on their nervous system or also on yourself. So let's say you're really, really angry, right? And their system can't hold that anger, can't hold space for that anger because their archetypes that can hold that are not really developed. Meaning maybe the little boy is very developed. So maybe he can be really playful and really joyful. But when it comes to the wild man or the wild woman, right, that actually would be able to handle more intense emotions, that is just not given. So there's this lack of emotional maturity. They don't know how to handle it. Think about, how does a baby and how would a toddler handle a very intense situation? Well, they would probably withdraw. They would probably get away from it, right? Versus saying, hey, hold on a second. Let's talk about it. What is going on for you? Tell me more about it. How can you express it more? How can we create a safe container for you to feel safe enough to express it and then ultimately come to an agreement that works for both of us? That takes emotional maturity, which of course is more connected to the wild man. It's more connected to the king as well. I call it the king integrity, or for the men, if you're a man watching this, maybe for your girlfriend or your wife, the queen integrity, right? That has like vision, that sees that big picture, that doesn't get lost in all those details and every single word, but actually sees, wow, this person is just furious right now. This person feels like they need an emotional release. And even more so, if you're even more emotional mature, this person ultimately needs to feel safe right now, needs to feel heard right now. When you get to that level of relationship and relating to each other, you really can break through those causes of stonewalling. Cause number 3 is, interestingly enough, the fear of shame of yourself, towards yourself, right? So if you actually feel like, well, I should not actually express my emotions, or I don't have the right to be here in this world, when we're not talking about the psychological stages of development, right? Like sometimes we don't feel like we even have the right to take up space, right? We feel so much shame around it. So what we do instead is like nothing. We're just like stonewalling it. We're just like withdrawing. We're just like afraid that, hold on a second, if I actually lean in and say, hey, I don't think that's okay what you just said, or it really hurt my feelings, or tell me more about it, right? If we can't do that because we're actually afraid to express our own opinion, right, they can oftentimes also lead to stonewalling. This also, of course, comes from minimizing your own opinions, right? Like your own words, your own truth even, right? Because you think like, well, I mean, my truth is not that relevant here. I need to understand more the other person in this equation. And this also comes more from feeling more, you're more other focused, right? So like if you're so other focused, you have nothing else. Like, what about you? Are you focusing on yourself? And if you then don't do that, then the system starts to be overwhelmed and eventually also shuts down. This also happens due to conflicts inside of yourself as well, which we're talking a little bit in cause number 4. Cause number 4 is that fear of lack of control, right? And here's what we're really talking about, right? We're really understanding the different parts inside of ourselves, right? Like the protector, the manager, like we know how we're supposed to walk around in the world and that life works for us, right? That we survive. Now, if we're hitting this wall, literally, no pun intended, or total pun intended, of like losing control, right? Like again, the system shuts down, because what happens is a conflict occurs, right? Like if a plus and a minus meet, they attract, but they also can cancel each other out as well. And so what's important here to know is actually like, okay, if you send a yes, but your body wants to say no, you're canceling out the entire signal, right? So that's what I was talking about. So you really have conflicting energy, you have even tension, and that can actually become unbearable inside of your system. And so the system goes into, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose control, right? I'm already losing control. I'm starting to feel lost, which again also comes from old childhood woundings and patterns, right? To feel lost, to maybe not having had the control that you had with your mom, right? Around getting nourished and nursed when you really needed it, right? Getting timely attention and potentially also approval from your primary caregivers. And then in response, this can be triggered, that loss of fear of control, right? And then what happened, the fear of loss of control, that's what I want to say. And then what happens is like the trigger becomes so strong that again, the whole system shuts down. And finally, cause number 5, which is then ultimately the fear of confrontation. So here's the thing, right? Like, and this is like really, really important. Like if you have an experience from your own childhood, right, where confrontation was absolutely not safe. Maybe you grew up in an abusive household where your dad or your mom were raging alcoholics, maybe bipolar, there were swinging moods, maybe even unpredictability. Then there's like a huge fear of confrontation, right? Because there was actually a negative association, and it's not just a negative association, it was actually dangerous, because the thought that you would have confronted your parents back then would have like maybe been the difference between life or death. On the other hand, the other kind of household where you develop really this fear of confrontation is when nobody really speaks their truth, right? When everything is being brushed under the carpet, right? And just like, shh, no, don't share this. And no, this is a family secret. And we're not going to do this, right? So it's just like overly private families where everything is so wonderful on the outside, right? We have like 2 kids and a dog and the white picket fence. But on the inside, right, there's like actually a lot of tumult, and there's maybe a lot of passive aggression going on because we can't express on the outside what we really feel, right? So those people have like a tremendous fear of confrontation. Of course, that fear of confrontation is also rooted in really feeling this fear of abandonment, right? Like really saying, when I rock the boat, the other person will leave me, or I will actually be like excluded from my tribe, right? So maybe your family would say, are you like that black sheep? You know, we all know how to dress, we all know how to behave. You know, those like perfectionistic families that just the Instagram picture perfect families, right? Like where everybody just does what they're supposed to do. I call that functioning over feeling, right? Like that then also leads to a fear of conflict. And that then can lead to, okay, then how else can I respond? Okay, I can stonewall, right? And then what we think in that moment is when we stonewall is also, okay, de-escalating the situation, right? Taking the tension away, kind of smoothing things out. But the problem is also the edge, your truth, your opinion, your authentic alignment and expression also suffers tremendously. So look, this is the end of those 5 causes of stonewalling psychology and also stonewalling abuse. So you've got to really talk about that too. So I'd love to hear from you. The question of the day is, which of those stonewalling causes are you mostly confronted with, either within yourself because you are the stonewaller, which by the way, I have done that before, totally, or the stonewallee. I'm totally coming up with new words, meaning you're receiving the stonewalling all the time. So which one makes the biggest difference for you that we share today? And also for those of you who feel like, I just really want to continue on and really learn how to actually increase my emotional maturity, how to actually understand more my archetypes, right? So I can actually show up more congruently in my truth and really face any situation and have a harmonious and authentically trusting relationship, like hop on over to magnetizeyourman.com to take my quiz right there. Again, this is magnetizeyourman.com. Click that link right below this video as well. Look, this is it for today. If you like this video, like it, share it with your girlfriends, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This is it for today. Much love, ladies, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care. Mwah!